how can you stop the cycle of self-negative talk that might be triggered after using the tricky question from last episode? More about that just after the amazing new intro. The Take One Journey, episode 60. Chi-ching, I don't have enough fingers for 60. Amazing. So, do you remember the tricky question from yesterday? The tricky question went something like this. How could I have made today a better day? And we use that question at night, because remember, this is the daily routine, and right now the night routine. Are you ready? Let's take a walk. So in today's episode, I promise to share with you a specific personal example of mine to show you how I don't trap myself into this self-negative talk. So I ask myself this question: how could I have lived? How could I have made today a better day? And I ask that at the end of the day, just before I go to sleep. So let's examine the tricky part. So you remember there's two stages. First stage, you leave the day. You just leave through the day. You use that tool. Remember the tool? Wait. Yeah, magnifying glass. Pretty big, yeah, I know. You use that magnifying glass and you inspect the day. You just leave the day again, you watch it just like floating at the top of that. So this is what I did. I was watching all the day just as an inspector. This is what I did yesterday. Now the tricky part. Now I asked the question, how could I have made this day after I lived it a better day? Now that's the tricky part. Why? Because I can ask myself, I can say something like, I should have done this, I should have done that, I always don't manage to do that, or you see, because yesterday after I was here at the park, I went back home, I started editing these videos, and just in the middle I got carried away. I was procrastinating, I was seeing some trailers, and then I saw like a movie and a half. Wasn't even a good movies, but I saw them to escape from what I really wanted to do. So when I relived the day again, first time, remember, just the movie, I inspected with the magnifying glass. Yes, I inspect that. So I saw that. I went through all the day. The rest of the day was pretty okay. So let's focus on that part. After I relived the day, I asked the question, how could I have made today better? That's the tricky part. I could say, it always happens to me. It always happens to me. I always procrastinate. I always do that. I should have done that, and that. So this is the beginning of the cycle. It can happen. The magic is to stop it. Know how to stop that. So here are the tips for that. How to stop this cycle of self-negative talk, because that can be very long, okay? And we don't want that. So how do we do that? Some tips about that. First tip, be specific. It's a game of specificity. Don't say I always. Don't say no. Look at it a specific day. You can even adjust the question. If I would have lived today again, what would I have done differently? And if you really step into the movie, you relive the day again. If you relive the day again, you are there. You can really change stuff. That's the mindset. Not that easy to do, but still a simple idea, and you can start practicing that. Meaning, you imagine yourself living that day again so you can make different decisions. But the magic here is that you are focused on things that you can do. And you can do specifically for that day. Not generalize. I always do that. I always can do that. Be specific. Another tip. You might say to yourself, I should do that. I should have done that. No, you want to. you want to. So ask yourself, after you inspected the day exactly as it was, when you ask yourself that question, you can ask, what I wanted to be a little bit better about that. What I wanted to do and I didn't do. Now, I'll dive back to my example to give you even more context about that. Makes sense? Let's dive right into that. So, I went back home after doing these videos in the park. I was starting editing there, and then I was a little bit tired. Yes, I was a little bit tired. And I started procrastinating, seeing trailers, and then I saw like 2 movies, and so I could easily judge myself. But when I really think about specifically about that day, I'm also asking that question. Not where did I notice. Don't look where you slipped. Don't look where you fell. Look where you slipped, okay? So I was pretty tired, so probably I could have gone to sleep earlier. So I'm thinking, okay, today I'll go to sleep also earlier. That's one thing. Second thing, I was there procrastinating. So I even imagine myself, let's say I was a little bit tired, I was starting procrastinating. I'm not judging myself. I'm asking myself, let's say I started procrastinating because I was tired. I wanted to escape. So I just imagine myself starting to procrastinate, no judging, just saying. And then I'm saying, what I can do right now to stop it? Probably a cold shower, probably jumping, dancing, changing states. If you know, it causes a pattern interrupt. If you don't know, it's not important. So I'm being specific for that specific thing. If I had done something that I didn't want to do and I know where I want to take that, I just imagine myself specifically in that specific situation, how could I have stopped that destructive behavior and just change that? Does it make sense to you? This is my personal example for you. How to stop this self-negative talk. I'll say it again, it's a game of specificity. Try not to generalize. It's not a game of generalizations. Yeah, don't say to yourself, I always, no. Be specific for that day. That's the thing. I don't think about so many other days. Just this day. The question was, how could I have made today better? Don't overwhelm yourself. The question wasn't, how could I have made all the bad years of all the year better? No. How could you have made today, just today, better? So when I'm specific, I can go with the details with the same day. So if that day I was tired because I wasn't sleeping well, even a week before, I'm aware of that. I put that into the equation. I don't judge myself as if I had 100% energy, because I didn't. So I'm just being fair with myself. Be fair with yourself. If you were tired, so you procrastinate for 5-10 minutes, that's okay. But how can you stop these 5-10 minutes from being 2-3 hours? So I saw a few trailers. Okay, but how can I stop myself not seeing the movie that I don't really care about? That's the question. This is the game of specificity. And when you say I shouldn't, or I should have done, try to use better words. Optimize that words. Maybe you visit the optimizer. I don't know. Maybe I'll put a link down below for the optimizer. Either way, ask yourself what you wanted to do specifically that day, and how could you specifically, while thinking about living that day, again, how could you make it differently for the better? So this is the assignment I have for you today. You can do this exercise exactly that. Either if you see this in the morning, you can do that about yesterday, and if you see it at night, you can do that about today, just before you go to sleep. So until tomorrow, do this exercise. Practice. It's not that easy, but it's very, 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 very powerful, because you think about the days and you think about the small parts that you want to adjust and optimize, and then slowly and slowly you will make sure you won't repeat these mistakes. Makes sense? So do that till tomorrow and have an amazing, I think you know, amazing day one.